Hello, Kate. Welcome. Could you give us a brief about yourself?
Hello, I am Nour. I'm Kate Whittaker. I'm a drama and English graduate. Live in Cape Town, and I've studied and taught English a bit in different places. And I'm an English speaker, so I use it all the time. So I'm quite comfortable with it. I'm a librarian, and I like cats a lot. And currently, we are in lockdown in Cape Town, so we aren't really meant to go out. Yeah. And we have to wear masks when we do. So that's life.
Yeah. Okay, good. So today we are speaking about how to improve our vocabulary. Okay, vocabulary
Yes.
in English. Number one, the first question, how to use new words. How does it help?
Well, I'd say use new words by starting with the students where they are at. So what context are you teaching it in? If they're just beginning, then start in the classroom with just what's in front of them and all the objects and the words for the things that they are using at the time. If they're slightly more advanced and they want to know specific language, like specific context, like financial terms or legal terms or medical terms, then I would either try and find the thing that you would want to talk about, or find illustrations and discuss and maybe even create dramatic scenarios if you're doing it face to face, or if you're doing it in this context, you could talk about the headphones, you could talk about what this is called, the cord, the speaker, and point out things that are related to that student's learning needs.
Okay.
And I think, well, how it helps is to expand people's understanding of the number of words in English, and sometimes how much we have. We have more than one word for many things and for many feelings and situations. So it can be quite complex because sometimes the word can have a very similar meaning, but you would only use it in a specific context.
Yeah, sure.
So it just helps people to get a broader understanding of the language, which is a bit of a mismatch of other languages. So
yeah, okay. The next question, why should students read every day?
Well, our brains learn by having patterns. Our brains are geared to seek patterns out. So if you develop a pattern or a habit of reading every day, eventually you'll get over that sort of anxiety perhaps around, I have to learn this language, and your brain will go into an automatic state where if you maybe make it a nice thing to do with a cup of tea and a biscuit or something in your favorite chair or whatever, that's something that makes you comfortable, because if you're very comfortable, your brain also relaxes, and then you're learning more because you want to get to that point that your brain is open to learning. So if you establish a ritual of reading every day, your brain can then focus on the language and the words, and eventually you can start focusing more on the meaning. So it's just a good thing to do.
Yeah, okay. Next question. Does learning roots of words help?
Yes, because English is made up of a number of different languages, actually. So it's got words from Latin, which is one of the earliest Roman, came from Italy kind of languages. It's got Dutch, Germanic languages, and Nordic and French and Anglo-Saxon. And so if you understand the root of a word, you can look for that pattern of those three letters, or that meant that first bit, like in the word prepare, that's actually two words from Latin. And then you can start seeing. So if you look at prenuptial, if you know that the word pre is means before, you'll know that it's before. And then if you know that nuptial means to get married, then you'll know it's something to do with before you get married. So it helps you to understand the context. And then it makes it easier for you to learn more words. Yeah. Because you can see the first bits or the parts that you're familiar with and work it out from there.
Okay, perfect. Okay, the next question. What is a thesaurus?
A thesaurus is like a dictionary, and it will often tell you how to pronounce the word. But it's actually a list of words, and then a list of words that are similar or related. So, which is not the same as synonyms. You also get lists of words that are synonyms, which are the words that are the same. But this is just, so you take any letter like, say, table, and you might have table, and then it will have other words like stool or side table, which is related to tables, but smaller.
Yeah.
So it's a way of finding out more words that are the same as that other word you looked up, and then expanding your vocabulary that way. It also often provides examples of using a word in a context.
Perfect.
So so it helps to make you clearer about what you're learning.
Yeah, this is very helpful, especially with professional and academic writing, because when we write, we need the words that suit this kind of context.
Yes, and especially if those are the environments you want to work in, that it just makes it a bit easier for you. And you can find words that are specific to your discipline in that area. So you might know of a word, but actually in the discipline, there's a specific word that's used because it also means something slightly more refined or specific.
Yeah, sure. Okay, the next question, how to develop practical vocabulary?
Well, we learn well when we learn with games and with laughter and humor. So I think it depends on the context, but I think never be embarrassed of making it fun and making jokes about things. And look for contexts to link to the student's interests. So build on what they're already there for. What do they need to learn? Why do they want to learn it? And then help them to scaffold that understanding by engaging them in something that they already have a passion for or are already hopefully keen to learn about.
Yeah, to activate this kind of vocabulary in their minds and make them able to produce them naturally and automatically.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, next question. Is it important to learn a new words every day?
I was debating this one because I think sometimes it might be that you need to just go back and read it in the context again, read the words that you already know and be comfortable with those words and be familiar with those so that you use them in the right way. But I think it also depends on how adventurous you are and how much you've got to do in your day as a professional or a business person or a scientist, and it never harms to challenge yourself. And maybe if some people enjoy that. They enjoy the challenge of word games and quizzes and things. So for them, it might be a way of, keeping engaged.
Perfect. Next question. Should students look up words they don't know?
Yes, definitely. Because, words have particular meanings, and in particular contexts, you could use a word and it would be the wrong way to use that word because I had a situation when I was writing in medical education. I wasn't doing the writing, I was commissioning people, but we sent an article off to a journal, and one of the proofreaders or editors changed one of the words and changed the whole meaning of the article, not just the context. It was referring to the data set that we'd used and what the explanation of that was. And they changed one tiny word, but because we'd use a very specific term, to those people who are experts, it would mean something very specific. And the other way around, it could mean that if we hadn't kept the word that they used, it would be a legal problem because we would be misinforming, we would be telling people the wrong thing. So if you're telling people the wrong information, it would be like saying, to come to this government building, you have to turn left and right and then go straight, when actually you have to go straight and then left and right and left. That's a very simple example, but there are very complex contexts where, especially in legal and medical and scientific stuff, writing, that it means something very particular and you need to use that word because you want to communicate that concept to somebody.
Okay, sure. Okay, next question. What is a journal?
A journal is a collection of articles on a particular subject. So you might be a specialist in biology, or you might be a specialist in cardiology, and that you'll have a journal that's just on science and research in that area, what's going on, and it can get very specific. You get journals in English language, how to teach first language, second language English speakers really well, or so it's a collection of science and research around and people's thinking. It can also be like a artistic journal, could be a collection of people's creative writing or poetry or thinking around ideas like philosophy. So it varies, but this means a collection of articles on a subject area.
Okay, great. What are empty words?
Empty words.
Yeah.
Do they mean meaningless words or?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, I guess you could say no words don't mean anything. So there are no empty words. There are definitely words we use more casually and more commonly than other words. And there's slang, and then there's words that people use in very like specific subsets of slang, like you develop a language with your own buddies or your own. That's why we've got British English and American English and Jamaican English, and South African English, like yes, no, ja, nee, which is an Afrikaans word, but we use it in South Africa all the time. Or we say eish, which just means gosh, that was so much.
Yeah.
Oh, and in different ways. So there are no real empty words. I'd say they're words that mean different things. And
okay, look at from this context, like, okay, through writing, for example, sometimes the students write a lot of words to express a short idea or some idea, like they can use few
I see.
words.
So too much description.
Yeah.
So too much repetition.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so to carefully look at what you've said and why you've said it and revise why do you need to have that much description of the context, or are you using too many words to describe a simple idea? And it's often best just to say what you mean and not to be scared of using words again.
Yeah.
If you've used the word beautiful and you say it again later, that's in the same paragraph, or it's about why you want to use that word. So think about why you want to use that word, and often if that helps maybe to go back to what your own language is and think, what word would I use there and why?
Yeah.
And then to translate that over so that you can see, because you can use too much language, you can use too many words and make things too long, and you lose people's attention.
Sure. Okay.
And you can also confuse people.
Sure. Okay. Next question: why should students diversify the reading list?
Because it gives you a broader understanding of how the language is used in different contexts, and how different words might be used differently. The same word might be used in different environments with a different meaning, and it gives you a broader idea of how the language is used in the cultures. Because there's more than one kind of English, and South African English is very different. We say things like now. We have 4 or 5 different meanings for time, and it says I'll be there now, and that doesn't mean I'll be there like now. Sure. It means I'll be there in the next 5 to 10 minutes, or now is like sooner, but it's not like today, this minute I'm going to do it. So it's to understand how elastic the words are and how elastic the meaning of words can be, and to understand how you can use them in different structures of sentences.
Great. Okay, what are word puzzles?
Word puzzles are games that you can play, like crosswords or Scrabble, or there are lots of different types. Puns are one, where you use a word and you mean something else. Because it's got 2 meanings or more than 2 meanings, if you use it in a certain way, it can be very funny. Or you can, because it sounds similar to something else, you can make a joke about it. So they're just ways of playing with words, and I suppose in the context of learning the language, it helps to get a better understanding of how a word is described.
Yeah, to know the limits of the meaning of this word. Like where,
Yes.
yeah, good. Okay, next question. How to practice new words in divergent ways?
I think try and use them by describing a situation you're in and asking someone else if they understood, it, or getting someone to ask you questions so that you can respond to that by describing it in English, respond to the question, and then see if they understood something. So you could have, there's games like, I'm thinking.
Information game.
Sorry, you could, yeah, those kind of Pictionary and those kind of games that you can make, understand better how the word is being used, or guessing and building your stronger comprehension of what words to use in different contexts.
Right. Okay, how to make associations between words?
Well, there you could get with mnemonics. You can get with funny, like make funny pictures in your head, link the picture to the word, but maybe make the word context specific to strange, peculiar situations that that nobody else might know, that are linked to your own experience. And I think that would be the main one.
Why the idea of the thesaurus thing, like you get the ideas related, the words related to this word, which can fit in different contexts with it.
Yes.
Okay, good.
It would be similar to a thesaurus.
Okay, next question. What are mnemonics?
Mnemonics are a collection of letters which form a word, which are often used in medical science. They use them a lot for remembering, say, how to do cardiopulmonary resuscitation. You'll have a mnemonic. It's an abbreviation, or it refers to the parts of the function that you have to do in order to make sure that someone's breathing.
Yeah.
So it's a fun way of remembering, and often it can be a silly word. It might even be a word that you actually has a real meaning, but you use it in a different way. Yeah.
Okay. How to move words from comprehensive to expressive vocabulary? Like how to move them from being like just receptive or used in the receptive skills to be able to use them in the productive skills. Sometimes when we listen to a word, we can understand it, but when we start to write, we completely forget this word.
Get it confused. I think that's, again, a context situation, and maybe playing games with a friend or with a colleague, or checking with an English language speaker, and having a sort of way of getting a response that accurately describes what you're talking about, so that you get comfortable using it every day, and using it effectively in the context that you want to communicate in. So, and again, reading a lot, reading in that discipline, like reading a specific set of articles related to that from a journal or from a newspaper, depending on and looking up web pages, maybe joining a blog or a group and finding out who's using what language terminology in your area, and approaching them.
Yeah, good. Okay, next question. How to visualize words?
Well, you could draw them out. You can literally draw them out and stick them around your house, or stick them around your your study, or wherever you would be focusing on learning the language. And get your friend to, again, get a friend or get somebody to sit with you and like play a game of like describing something in your language, but then you have to respond in English, for example. Or describe a situation, and then get them to guess what you're trying to refer to.
Yeah, it's also
Um,
important, like to have a clear image in our mind what this word means. So we need
yes,
to, yeah, we need to familiarize it to our mind. We need to grasp the exact meaning of the word, as you said. Like it can fit in some contexts, but it doesn't fit in others.
yes.
Yeah, good.
And I think, you know, and trying it out with, you know, don't be scared to contact an expert in your area
Mhm.
and, like, you know, get hold of them. A lot of academics, yes, you might be intimidated by their status in the profession that you're in, or the, you know, what you know about them, but actually they're probably pretty friendly, and a lot of them will quite happily, you
Sure,
know,
sure.
chat to you and tweak things for you.
Okay, in the end, give us your general recommendations for improving vocabulary in English.
Um, I think playing games, playing a lot of Scrabble, and just reading really widely, and, you know, maybe buddying up with somebody to have, you know, that is learning the language or is willing to learn with you, and then can troubleshoot your questions by saying, you know, by asking in your language what, you know, doesn't mean that, and then you have to describe it back in English, you know, and see if they get clearer. Yeah.
Great. Okay, it has been great talking to you today, and
Thank you very
sure we
much for
will
your
meet
time.
again soon.
Yes. Thanks very
Certainly.
much for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you.